rising in body or spirit, and let us sing our opening hymn, number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. It's in the gray hymnal, but I think we'll have words on the screen. If not, it's really easy. Welcome on this last Sunday of July. Let us just take a moment to breathe in together, finding the holy presence of life all around us, rejoicing in it, breathing it out, breathing it back in, welcoming that holy presence into our sanctuary, this place of peace and radical love. Let us remember that without one another, we could not be. As the African philosophy of Ubuntu states, I am because we are. And today our worship service calls us to find that beingness together as we explore who we are as Unitarian Universalists.
Good morning. Good morning. Hello and marhaba. My name is Veysel Dokur, and I serve this congregation as a trustee, membership and information technology team's chair, and I use the pronouns he, him. Welcome to this Unitarian Universalist congregation of Lakeland. No matter your spiritual path, ethnicity, race, gender, sexual orientation, age, or abilities, we are a community that puts love in the center as we seek the sacred together. We are brave, curious, and compassionate thinkers and doers. We are diverse in faith, ethnicity, history, and spiritually, but aligned in our desire to make a difference for the good. We have a track record of standing on the side of the love, justice, and peace. Once again, welcome to our congregation.
Love plus connection equals transformation. That is our mission statement here at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Lakeland. So I call you into some ways of being together that help us live out that mission statement. Well, yesterday, we assisted the Red Tent Initiative with their yard sale right here in our sanctuary. It was just full of stuff and people. It was fabulous, and we raised $1,200. So, yeah, we can continue to help those who are in situations of domestic abuse and help get them out of these dangerous situations and into a safe place. So, on behalf of the Red Tent Board, I say thank you to all of you for your support, and especially to those that helped out, donated a lot of time and energy because it's hard work. Of course, Ken and Dorothy, and Melissa and Jerry, Daniel, Maggie, Macy, Petra. Crystal. I know, hold on. And Crystal, who like, holy cow, I think she's Superwoman. I really. And now she's back there in the tech booth. She just worked for 2 days straight, and if the chairs seem a little wonky today, it's because by the end of those 2 days, Crystal and I were trying to set them up, and I think we couldn't even see straight by then, I'm not sure. But, and Tim, unfortunately, isn't feeling well enough to be here and straighten them out for us, so thank you, Crystal, for all of your hard work. Thank you. This Friday in downtown Lakeland is First Friday, and we set up a tent there where we get to talk about Unitarian Universalism. Yeah, that's kind of a hard thing to do, and it's what we're working on today, isn't it, Faisal? But if you would like to volunteer for the tent and come hang out with other UUs, come talk to people about how excited you are about our faith and help bring people to our church, please see Faisal after service. Yes? Yes. Okay, good. And he will tell you what he needs. Jen is looking for ushers and greeters. That involves greeting people at the door and having them sign in the book and getting them name tags and, answering questions because it's, might be their first time here and they don't know what to expect. So if you would like to help Jen with that, please, email her. She's not here today. And just sign up once a month for a couple of hours to be a greeter. I just want to remind you that August 20th is voting day. Please don't forget to vote. Local elections are very important, especially when that involves electing people to our school board. So please, August 20th, vote or do your mail-in vote. I am going on vacation. I'm starting tomorrow, and I will be back in the office on August 7th. So I will be gone for about a week and a half. If you have any questions while I'm away, please just email board@uuclakeland.org. Thank you. And of course, there's announcements on the back of your order of service. And in your e-newsletter, which comes out every Monday, if you're not receiving the e-newsletter and you signed up for it, please email Helen at contact@uuclakeland.org. Because possibly the email didn't get in there right, or it's bouncing. She says there's a lot that are like coming back to you, they're bouncing back to you. So please, if you're not getting it and you signed up, let Helen know, or just email newsletter@uuclakeland.org, and that's Marcia, and one of them will get it straightened down. So thank you. All right, let's light our chalice.
As Unitarian Universalists, we create change in ourselves and in the world. As we light our chalice, our symbol of faith today, let us think about what is permanent, what is passing, and what we are compelled to do for our faith. Gail, would you please light our chalice? I see we may need some light there. I think lighter's in the back. Thank you, Gail. Please rise in body or spirit to sing and sign hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
I would like to invite our children forward. And the young at heart. The young at heart. They also. I don't have a story to tell. I just have a really simple question to ask. And my question is, this is easy peasy, right? What is a Unitarian Universalist?
Someone who is not like judgmental. In my opinion, like I see like someone who is loving no matter what and not judgmental. Someone who will like actually consider what you like, actually think about what you say to them.
Oh, somebody who is loving, considerate, thoughtful, thinks about other people, doesn't judge. That's
Service
pretty-
is over.
That sounds good to me. Yeah. So when you are, say, talking to a friend and they say, "What church do you go to?" And you say, "I go to the Unitarian Universalist Church." And they go, "The Unitarian who? The who?" Because that's a long word, right? What do you say? They say, "What is Unitarian Universalism?" Now, the lifelong you can't answer yet.
A simple answer.
Yeah. Well, I remember one day having a conversation with my friend Presley, and you know what he said? He actually had a conversation with somebody about what a Unitarian Universalist is. Yeah. And then he just started talking about spirit of life. Right, Presley? It's okay. You can just nod. You don't have to answer. Just, yeah. I was really impressed. I was impressed. So when he comes to this church and sings Spirit of Life, it's meaningful to him, and he takes it out into the world and talks about it. Anybody else have an answer? What would you say to somebody if they said, "What is Unitarian Universalism?" Yeah. Is it an easy answer? Dakota says no. Bella.
Well, like I probably would say a church that would support you
Church
no
that
matter
would,
what.
church that would support you no matter what. I love that. Yeah, that's good. And I know, Juliana, you're like just learning about this thing called Unitarian Universalism, so you might not have a very easy answer. Sometimes when people ask me, I could just go on and on and on and on and on and explaining it, right? Yeah, and I actually am not going to take answers from the grown-ups right now because you're going to get a chance to answer later. Especially you lifelong you. But it's important for us to be able to articulate, means to tell people about Unitarian Universalism. And something that I'm really excited about in our new Article 2 is that we have love in the center. Love. Sometimes love. Love is at the center of our faith. That's just a really simple, easy way to answer it. And we used to talk about our 7 principles a lot. And believe it or not, love was not in our 7 principles. It was implied, but the word love was not there. So I'm really happy that it is now, it's not only there, but it's in the center. It is the center of our faith. And everything we do comes out of love. All right. Well, I think that's all I have for you. What do you think?
Okay.
Yeah, good. I got the thumbs up from Bella, so we're good. All right, well, thank you so much. You're welcome to go. Or back to your your seat, whichever you choose. And have a great time. Oh, yes, you can put a stone in there before you leave. Oh. Our ritual of joys and sorrows is a moment in which we can quietly contemplate all that has been happening in our lives and the complexity of emotions these experiences bring. It is a time to return to our inner selves and ask ourselves what we need most in this moment, to renew our souls with the promise of love and support from one another. In our Joys and Sorrows book, you are able to write any significant joy or sorrow occurring in your life that you would like for the congregation to know. It sits on the table at the entrance of the sanctuary before the service, and I read from it before we take the time to participate in our weekly ritual of placing pebbles in the bowl. This week, Vaisal says that he is happy to see Dorothy and Ken are back. Indeed, that was a long 3 weeks. Welcome back.
I second that.
Dorothy says, I'm happy, hold on, I got new glasses and I didn't get bifocals. Silly me. I am happy to be home and see your lovely faces and hope for the future. And Hamid says, happy observation, Kamala is the Hindu goddess of justice, how appropriate. Thank you, Tom. And Julia says, I feel so happy to be here among you, we, us, again. Does that say we? You, we, us, again, Julia. Thank you all. I'm glad that you are all full of joy this morning, although I know that sometimes there's things going on that are just too tender to talk about, and so that's why we have our joys and sorrows. So for all that hasn't been said, we will take a moment to come up to our bowl and put stones in the water. Thank you. on Zoom. We have Judy, Fran, and Nancy. Good morning. Thank you.
Here we gather Takbak in this friendly neighborhood between the beautiful tall pines. We are a community of people who have arrived from many different paths. And yet we seek a common goal, to bring more love to a hurting but beautiful world. We do this throughout our relationships we build and the gratitude we express with our time, talent, and treasures. Centered in love, we can renew and transform this world spiritually and ethically towards joy for all. Our ushers will now pass the plate so that we may live into our value of generosity, which states in the new wording of Article 2. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. Our generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. Please give generously.
Let us take a moment to center and contemplate our monthly theme, the joy of co-creating. Get comfortable, close your eyes if you want, and breathe. Just take in 3 breaths and out, and in, and out, and one last breath in, and out, and welcome in an openness to change. One of the blessings of our Unitarian Universalist faith is that we are open to change. We call ourselves a living tradition, meaning that our tradition was formed in the past but is ever evolving and changing as we are always learning and growing and welcoming new information about and experiences from the world. And so our beliefs about the world and what is sacred, holy, and divine change as well. Our perspectives shift, and along with that, so do our expectations of how we should behave in this world. We learn, we grow, we change. Is that what life is all about? How have your beliefs shifted since you became a Unitarian Universalist? If you've just entered our space, what kinds of questions have arisen that might lead you towards something new and different, or perhaps even life-changing? It is a blessing of our faith to be able to question and to be able to receive a diversity of answers from one another that keep us open to change. Visionary and science fiction writer Octavia Butler wrote of change often, and her parable series gave us a bounty of spiritual wisdom to ponder. One quote that many people hold close to their hearts and minds is this: "All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change." In this Unitarian Universalist religion, we recognize that change everywhere. We accept it as a blessing, and we listen to how it calls us to love. With that in mind, please rise in body or spirit with me now and sing hymn number 1058 in our teal hymnal, "Be Ours a Religion." Short and sweet hymn written by Reverend Theodore Parker. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. What can a spiritual discipline of love look like? It can look like holding one another with care right here in this sacred space of our sanctuary while we bravely ask questions, seeking life's meaning together as we not only accept change, but shape it towards love. And that's what we're doing today. Vaisal will lead us in this. Thank you, Vaisal.
Thank you, Heather. Once again, my name is Vaisal, and I serve this congregation in different roles. We co-created this congregation, all the services, hospitality, the facilities and all. And with everything we do, I love to co-create with Heather, Petra, Jan, Catherine, Crystal, with all of our congregants. 2 weeks ago, we heard from our UEA delegates and other members who attended the General Assembly, and they shared their experiences. I would like to continue on the same and ask and answer the questions that what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist. But I would like to do it by reviewing our congregation's covenant, the purpose from our bylaws, and the final version of the Article 2 as it was approved at the General Assembly. But first, let's play a game of freeze, shall we? This is a game about two people with two chairs, one person being the Unitarian Universalist, lifelong Universalist. We have Julia here. And the other one asking questions about Unitarian Universalism, that anything comes to your mind. That may be something that you're doubtful of, or somewhere someone asked. And there's a twist here. We're starting with our lifelong UUs, but in the audience, you may have questions, you may have answers that you would like to do. If that's the case, you're just gonna say freeze, and then come, tap one of the chairs, people here, to replace them. Either ask your question or give your alternate answer or your answer, whatever it may be. Just to warm this up, we're starting with, again, Adam is asking questions. I have questions, Chair. And Julia, again, another lifelong UU. I have answers. She'll give the answers. And including Heather and me, if you have any questions, anytime, what are we going to say? Freeze. With that, Adam, your question first.
Julia, how old were you when you started going to a UU church?
My whole life, so I was 0.
You were a baby.
I was a baby. My parents were married in the Unitarian Universalist All Souls Church in Washington, D.C. in the 40s, and they became UU. I think my mother was raised UU, my father was not. So my whole life.
Freeze.
Whoa.
Okay, go ahead, ask your question, then I'll freeze.
I was going to say, when did you first thinking of yourself as a Unitarian Universalist?
We went every Sunday to the First Unitarian Church of Trenton. My parents were on the board of directors and also president of the board at different times. So we were there every Sunday. And I was about 5 or 6, and I asked my father, what is Unitarian Universalist? And he said, well, Unitarians believe there is one God form instead of the Trinity. And this made sense because I knew Catholics who were into the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. So Unitarians believe in one thing. And the Universalists believe something like all dogs go to heaven. Everybody is eligible for salvation. And that was roughly how my father explained it to me when I was very young.
Freeze. I'm going around.
Who's it going to tap? Who's it going to tap on the shoulder? Okay.
Hi, Julia. Thank you for sharing with us. And something I'm curious, and it may be a little bit personal, but me growing up, I was a very rebellious child, and I grew up with Muslim culture and going to mosques and different things. One thing, whatever parents want me to do, I wanted to rebel against, and I didn't want to go do whatever they want me to do. And in that sense, I found any kind of excuses not to go to the mosque and that. And I wonder, like growing as a teenage years, how did you feel? Were you?
There's many ways you can rebel as a teenager that have nothing to do with your religion. You can rebel by exploring substances out in the universe. You can rebel by making friends. You can rebel by traveling at a young age when other people normally stay home. There's lots of ways to rebel that don't have anything to do with religion.
Thank you. I have one other question that's about what is like most important to me. UU is about love, and love shows itself in justice, especially social justice.
Mm-hmm.
And what are your most important actions that you took parts where you can tell your grandchildren a story, I did this?
Well, I did too, but one that's most relatable is in the 1980s, our country was on the brink of nuclear war with the Soviet Union, and I was really active in the UU church in Fort Myers, and a bunch of ladies there were really active with the Democrats and an organization called something like the Florida Peace Coalition or something. And we would travel from Fort Myers up to Cape Canaveral basically every weekend. I would drive, and I would hold their driver's license and their $100 bills. And these ladies who were 70 years old would crawl over the chain link fence at the air base to commit civil disobedience, get arrested, and then they would count on me to show up in court for them the next day and bail them out. And I did. And they did this a couple of times, and it was a great deal of courage and trust on everybody's part. And it worked. We didn't go to nuclear war with anybody back then. And that was a direct action of being a Unitarian Universalist.
Thank you. Thank you.
Freeze. Thank you. You're very interesting, but I know you want a break. Can I answer your question?
Please.
Okay. With love at the center, I try to be sure that every action I take comes from love. I am not perfect, that is for sure, but relationships are at the foundation of my faith, and I feel that only when we get to a point where we have loving, trustworthy relationships can we truly experience justice. And so that's why I work really hard in the community, getting to know people in this community. And while there are huge global issues that we do need to address, we also have to start here. Because if we don't start here, what do we have? So that's how I live love at the center.
Freeze.
Y'all can tap me out too.
So, as a Unitarian Universalist, how do you put love at the center of your relationships?
How do I put love at the center of my
I mean,
relationship?
if, Catholic people may say they put love at the center of relationships. I don't know.
Well, it's not just through beliefs, it's through actions, right? And so I have to ask myself, are the things that I'm saying and doing are they coming from a loving place? Sometimes that's hard because sometimes that involves boundaries, right? But is it from love, and does it honor me and the other person and the community? How am I building community?
Okay. So, how old were you when you thought of yourself as a Unitarian Universalist?
I was about 33 years old when I came here to this church. I walked in the door and I went, whoa, what is this place? And Tommy's welcoming spirit came through Keno, and here I am. Yep.
So, how Universalist are you?
How universalist am I? Okay, so universalism says everybody receives salvation, right? This is one of the hardest parts of our faith. What about people like Hitler, right? We answer these questions, or we have to struggle and wrestle with these questions often. What about people who kill other people? How do they get into heaven? How are they redeemed? And there's no easy answer except for we often just go to life is sacred. Okay, that's a part of being a Unitarian Universalist, is honoring and acknowledging that all of life is sacred and that every person has inherent worth and dignity. That does not mean that their behavior is okay. That does not mean that we just say, oh yeah, you're okay, you're fine. It's boundaries, calling that behavior out, trying to repair, to heal, to fix, to change that behavior, to work towards a world in which this is ideal, right? Working towards a world in which that behavior does not need to be there, in which we recognize what's at the root of that behavior, what happened to honoring the sacredness of all life. Yeah, here comes Helen. She's going to freeze. Come on, y'all. I talk enough.
Yeah, it's.
You can do either one. You can ask other more questions.
Helen wants to answer this question, yes?
All right.
I do. Oh, good.
Yeah. So if I remember the question, is how universalist do you consider yourself?
So,
talk about universalism, and we tend to start from a Christian framework. So it's what's happening in the afterlife. But Unitarian Universalism tends to focus on this life. And in this life, everyone can work for their own and our collective salvation. So it's more of an opportunity rather than a given. Because people make their own choices. And if they choose harmful behavior, then they are not participating in the process. That doesn't mean that I don't approach their existence in the world with love and understanding, but it does mean that they're choosing not to be part of the salvation process.
Sounds to me like you believe in something like sin, something that would keep you from being sent to heaven.
Well, I don't believe in an afterlife.
Oh, okay.
So
that's my first question. Do you believe in an afterlife?
no, I don't believe in an afterlife. I don't know that there certainly isn't one because I have never died that I know of. But this life is what's important because this is all we can have any control over or do anything with.
Then you get up.
Do I still need to answer the...
I think that's you gotta go. Yeah, you can keep answering.
Well, I'm going to wait for her to kick you out.
Okay, we're good.
So, to continue the other part of that, sin implies a judgmental value on people. And I'm not talking about me judging people or God judging people or the supernatural judging people. I'm talking about the fact that we are humans and we all have the free will to choose what we're going to do. And we don't choose things that are helpful for ourselves or others or the earth all of the time. Even those of us who are well-intentioned. And people who have different values than our lovely poster here might choose different actions because they're not looking at the world through the same lens as I am.
Freeze.
Wait, I have a
You
question.
guys never know. You want to ask her the question? Or?
Yeah, I want to ask her.
Okay, go ahead. Ask the
Okay.
question. Ask the question.
We're gonna fight
Let's
over
see.
you.
Gosh.
I've been a Unitarian since 1994, and I was very impressed when I came to that church. I want to know how your perception of Unitarians changed since you have come to this church.
Okay, that's a fair question.
But freeze. This is the game, right? No, I'm not tapping you. I'm sorry. You stay there. I'm tapping on Helen.
Okay, can I
Thank you.
answer the question? Or
I want to answer that question.
Oh, you wanna
That's the
answer
thing. That's the part of the game. You can't change it anytime. I'm sorry. The reason I want to answer that is a little bit historical because I help with the pathways to community sessions, and like when you say Unitarian, Universalist, this is kind of our historic roots. What is our heritage as Unitarian Universalists? Like I'm a Unitarian Universalist with a Muslim background. I don't know about the Unitarians, Universalists, and how those evolve and come. One thing Heather said here, Helen also, Trinity to unity, right? Like, there is one, that's so, and then universals, there is no original sin, everybody, God is so loving that everybody will go to heaven. Those are those traditions. I'm coming from a Muslim belief system there, but there is over there, then I learned about Buddhism, there is that's in. There is Judaism, there is paganism. A lot of people, we all believe and put our faith in different things. What brought me here, Unitarians, like, one of the things as a Muslim learning for me was the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Okay, those principles, that's like, I ask questions, search for the truth, like one of our principles, right? Search for the meaning and truth, and doing this together. There is nothing sacred. You always question and find answers with the help of the science and empirical information, and we do this all together. I know it's not maybe the example, but nobody's saying freeze, change my answer and stuff. So I want to bring this.
I think Heather wants to freeze.
Okay.
Freeze.
All right.
Please. You want to finish answering something about that question?
When I came here, I was an atheist. And I really just thought that that's all there was. And we had a very strong humanist, atheist congregation. And I was having trouble. I grew up Christian, just FYI. I didn't go to church for years. And I learned, and I grew outside of that. I would call myself a religious naturalist, but I just want to say that, like, my definition of Unitarian Universalism has changed a lot since I walked through that door. And so I have become way more open just by listening to other people and their perceptions of the world and the universe. And to me, that's a lot about being a Unitarian Universalist.
I want to know, from anybody that wants to answer, if universalism includes all sentient beings.
Oh, I think so. I believe so.
Okay.
That's my belief.
How extensive?
Because life is sacred. Life.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
The entire earth, in my mind, is living and breathing. It's working together. We cannot be without all of what there is. It's all
So
included.
that includes all the trees and the rocks and the everything.
Pantheism. Pantheism.
Who are we freezing?
I'll take your place, Ed.
Oh, yeah.
He's got the answers.
This beautiful woman that she and her husband bring the arts and singing and theater, all the wonderful people that come here that one gets to meet when one comes here.
Okay. My question is still the same at this point in time, so.
To repeat, please.
To repeat is, universalism includes all sentient beings, and exactly what is a sentient, how, extensive do universalists consider sentiency?
I tell people that when you come to the Unitarian Universalist congregation, you find a spectrum of beliefs. You have liberal Christians who are more open-minded about interpreting what Jesus taught. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you have atheists who say, no, there's no God. I consider myself in the middle as a pantheist, which means the force that's the animating part of life for all sentient beings as well as plants. There's life on this earth, and the force, nobody has a monopoly on explaining what the nature of God is, as many different religions try to say, I've got the exclusive answer. No, it's still a mystery. And when I was a child, I had 3 brothers that were colorblind, and I am not. And I one time said, let's get that green ball. Let's get that red ball. And 3 brothers says, what do you mean, that green ball? That blew my mind to think that we were looking at the same thing and interpreting it different. And that's when I became aware that not all minds are alike. people are seeing the same thing, but their minds are interpreting. And these religions that say everybody has to interpret the world the same way, and I'm going to kill you if you don't believe like I am, or I'm going to condemn you to hell, well, that just has created a lot of conflict that's unnecessary in this world. And when we come here, we acknowledge that people see the world in different ways, their concepts about what is the divine. And when I came here, I was encouraged to study other religions. And in Hinduism, there is a saying, there are many paths to God and or goodness. And that allows for us to express love to people that see the world in a different way, and not fight, but say, let's come together, compare notes, and learn from each other. So there are many paths to God and or goodness. And this place makes an effort to acknowledge that we can have different religious beliefs, perceive the world in different ways, and we don't have to condemn each other to hell because somebody else sees the world differently. We can learn from each other. And that's a way of expressing love.
Well, I'm looking at the clock, and I'm thinking if they want to continue with what they had planned for the day.
I think this is a great conversation. Freeze! Oh! Yes, Kyle, you come on up. Please, please, please.
Oh, good, she's coming to my side. That's gonna be interesting.
What makes like a Unitarian Universalist church than any other church? Like than the rest of the other churches?
When you come here, you can wear shorts if you want to come here. You don't have to wear a coat and a tie or a special dress. The other thing is, when you come to the Unitarian Universalist congregation, you're not told that there's just one way that you have to believe. And that makes us very different, because so many other, now there's a philosophy term called conflicting duality, which means that there's two things, one has to dominate and one the other. But there's complementary duality, which means there can be two, it can be both and, looking at the world. So the difference between here is we don't say that there's only one way. There are many different ways. As the Hindus say, there are many different paths to God and or goodness. And we can talk with each other and compare notes with each other and learn from each other. And
Amen, and freeze.
Thank you, everybody. Let's see everybody again.
And I want to say, Brianna, when you walk through that door, the difference is you are loved no matter who you are, right? We love you. We are welcoming and accepting and supportive, and we are affirming, and that's one thing that makes us different than a lot of other churches. Thank you, Dana.
Again, thank you everyone who came ask questions and answers and shared with us as we co-create. As Unitarian Universalists, we create change. I think I said this before, but I'm going to read this again. If I didn't, it wouldn't. Our faith is about doing, taking action, acting, whether in community with others or as individual. We know that active, tangible expressions of love and peace what make difference. Embracing peace, love, and understanding that goes beyond individual belief systems, we are creators of positive change in people and in the world. We, UUs, have a legacy of deeds, not creeds. Our work for a better world calls us to unexpected places as we harness love's power to stop oppression. From grassroots community organizing to interfaith state, national, and corporate advocacy. In protest marches, prayer vigils, and press conferences, in homeless shelters, and in prisons. Unitarian Universalists put our faith into action. Our justice efforts are grounded in our congressionally driven social justice statements and our call to break down divisions, heal isolation, and honor interconnectedness of all life and all justice issues. We model these commitments by creating just, welcoming, and inclusive congregations. We act in partnership with groups and communities most impacted by injustice on local, state, national, and international levels. At this point, I invite you to be involved with these groups as our UUCL representatives. Justice and Inclusion, UU Climate Justice, UU Service Committee, UU The Vote. I think these are just some of the examples, and they are the websites. For example, we talked about Gaza before. There's a crisis going in Burma. There's a crisis going in Sudan. Ukraine war is still continuing on. All these injustices. There is a lot of effort is done by the UEA Association, and it is sub-organizations. Once again, if you want to get detailed information of these organizations, contact me or check this website, their websites. Once again, I thank you all for coming here today and sharing your experiences and questions about UUism.
And thank you, Vaisal. I was very happy when Vaisal came to me and said he wanted to do a service about articulating our UU faith, because often it can be difficult. And so we practice together, and it changes every time. So keep practicing with each other, especially if you are going to volunteer to work one of our booths out First Friday or something, and people come up and they want to know, what is this place? It's really good to have an answer. But I've listened to y'all at the tents before, and I'm always it just warms my heart to hear what you have to say to others about our church and our faith. So I thank you all for your love and your enthusiasm. And I offer you some closing words now, again from Octavia Butler. She wrote, "God is change, and in the end, God prevails. But meanwhile, kindness eases change, love quiets fear, and a sweet and powerful positive obsession blunts pain, diverts rage, and engages each of us in the greatest, the most intense of our chosen struggles." Please rise, embody your spirit now, and sing with me one of our favorite UU hymns, number 1064 in our teal hymnal, Blue Boat Home. 1064.
Still my cry,
Yes, now time to extinguish our chalice. While Gail, please, repeat with me our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of love, or fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world.
Missed you the past few weeks. We don't want to cry. With love at our center, go out into the world now and shape change with our Unitarian Universalist values. And remember that you are loved, you are worthy, and you are a blessing. We'll see you in the social hall.
Please join us in the social hall for snacks and drinks.